The mining colony of Kepler 442b was no place for mercy. Under the scorching twin suns, humans and Zephyrians worked side by side in the crystalline quarries, their backs bent under the weight of imperial quotas and the ever-watchful eyes of the hegemony overseers. Marcus Chen had been on this forsaken rock for 3 years, ever since the Earth Defense Corps had surrendered and humanity became another client species in the vast galactic hegemony. He kept his head down, did his work, and tried not to think about the blue skies of home. That was until he met Lyra. The young Zephyrian female was barely into her adult cycles, her iridescent scales still showing the soft pastels of youth rather than the deep purples of maturity. She worked in the sorting bays, her 4 delicate arms moving with practiced precision as she separated the valuable quantum crystals from worthless stone. What set her apart wasn't her efficiency, it was her kindness. While other aliens kept their distance from the humans, treating them as the conquered species they were, Lyra would share her water rations when the heat became unbearable. She would slow her own work to help elderly humans meet their quotas, small acts of compassion that sparked something Marcus thought had died when Earth fell. The trouble began on a Tuesday morning when Overseer Krell, a massive Varaxian with armor-plated hide and cruel yellow eyes, discovered a shortage in the crystal shipment. Someone had been skimming, taking small amounts to trade for extra food or medical supplies. It was a capital offense under hegemony law. The theft happened in Sorting Bay 7. Krell's voice boomed across the assembled workers, his translator unit making his words sound even more menacing. Someone here is a thief. Step forward now and face only 10 lashes. Force me to investigate and the guilty party will face execution. Marcus watched the color drain from Lyra's scales, her usual soft blue fading to a sickly gray. Her large, compound eyes darted nervously, and he knew with sinking certainty that she was the one, probably taking crystals to buy medicine for her ailing clutch mother, or food for her younger siblings. The kind of desperate kindness that would get her killed. The seconds stretched like hours. Krell's patience was wearing thin, his massive frame shifting as he prepared to make good on his threat of investigation. They all knew what that meant. Interrogation chambers, neural probes, and eventually a public execution to set an example. Marcus found himself stepping forward before his rational mind could stop him. "It was me," he said, his voice steady despite the terror coursing through his veins. "I took the crystals." Krell's head swiveled toward him, predatory interest gleaming in those yellow eyes. "The human admits guilt. Very well. 10 lashes, public display. Let this be a lesson to all workers." As the crowd dispersed, Marcus caught Lyra's eyes. She stared at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Shock, gratitude, and something deeper. Her brothers, Zane and Cato, 2 fierce warriors even by Zephyrian standards, flanked her protectively. They watched Marcus with unreadable expressions as he was led away. The flogging took place at noon, when the twin suns were at their peak and the assembled workers could witness every moment. Marcus was shackled to the punishment post in the center of the compound, his shirt stripped away to expose his back to the crowd and the dreaded neural lash. The neural lash wasn't just a weapon, it was torture refined to an art. Each strike sent cascades of agony through the nervous system, pain that felt like liquid fire spreading through every nerve ending. It was designed to leave the victim, conscious and screaming, a spectacle that would deter future infractions. Krell raised the weapon with ceremonial slowness. "Let this human suffering remind you all of the price of defiance." The first lash struck like lightning made manifest. Marcus bit down hard enough to taste blood, refusing to give Krell the satisfaction of hearing him scream. The second blow nearly shattered his resolve, his knees buckling as neural fire raced up his spine to explode behind his eyes. By the 5th lash, the assembled crowd had grown restless. Most punishment victims were writhing and begging by now, but Marcus remained upright, his jaw locked in grim determination. Even Krell seemed surprised by the human's resilience. The 7th lash broke something inside Marcus, not his will, but something deeper. As the pain washed over him, he found himself thinking not of his own agony, but of Lyra's gentle hands sharing water in the heat, of her siblings who might have starved without those stolen crystals, of small acts of kindness in a cruel universe. The 8th and 9th strikes found him still standing, blood running down his back in crimson streams, his breath coming in ragged gasps but his eyes still defiant. In the crowd, he could see other humans watching with growing amazement, while the alien workers shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't how these things usually went. The 10th lash fell with all of Krell's strength behind it, a blow meant to finish what had become an embarrassing display of human stubbornness. Marcus took it full force, his body convulsing as neural fire consumed every synapse. But he did not fall. He did not break. When Krell finally released him from the shackles, Marcus walked away under his own power, leaving the overseer staring at the bloodied punishment post with something that might have been respect flickering in his predatory eyes. That night, as Marcus lay on his bunk trying to process the lingering neural echoes, the door to his quarters chimed softly. He expected to see Lyra, perhaps coming to thank him or apologize. Instead, he found her brothers. Zane and Cato were formidable even by warrior standards, their scales bearing the deep purple-black of mature Zephyrian males. Battle scars crisscrossed their arms and faces, marking them as veterans of the bitter resistance that had eventually fallen to the hegemony's might. They had never so much as acknowledged Marcus's existence before tonight. Both warriors dropped to one knee before his bunk, their heads bowed in the traditional Zephyrian gesture of highest respect. Marcus Chen of Earth, Zane spoke first, his voice heavy with emotion that the translator couldn't quite capture. You have shown honor beyond measure. You took pain meant for our sister, asked nothing in return, and endured what would have broken most beings. We are in your debt. Cato raised his head slightly, his compound eyes reflecting the dim light of the quarters. In our culture, there is a bond called Veltar, soul oath. It binds warriors who have proven themselves worthy of absolute trust. We offer this bond to you, human. Our strength is your strength, our lives are your lives. Until the stars burn cold, we stand with you. Marcus struggled to sit up, wincing as the movement pulled at his healing wounds. He looked at these proud warriors, beings who had fought against impossible odds and lost everything, now kneeling before a conquered human who had simply done what felt right. I didn't do it for honor, he said quietly. I did it because someone had to, and she didn't deserve to die for trying to help her family. The brothers exchanged a look that spoke volumes. Slowly they rose to their feet, but something fundamental had changed in their bearing toward him. That, Zane said softly, is exactly why you are worthy of Veltar, Marcus Chen. A true warrior fights not for glory, but because someone must stand between the innocent and the darkness. As they turned to leave, Cato paused at the doorway. Tomorrow, the other warriors will hear of what happened here. Word will spread through the resistance networks to the outer colonies, to the hidden bases where free beings still fight. They will learn that on Kepler 442b, a human took 10 lashes meant for a Zephyrian girl, asked nothing in return, and stood unbroken. The door closed behind them, leaving Marcus alone with the growing realization that his simple act of compassion had somehow become something larger. In a galaxy where humanity was seen as weak, conquered, and broken, he had shown that the human spirit remained undefeated. Outside his window, the twin suns set behind the crystalline peaks, painting the sky in shades of hope that Marcus hadn't dared to feel in years. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new quotas, and the same backbreaking labor. But tonight, for the first time since Earth's fall, humanity had earned something precious from their alien neighbors: respect. In the darkness, Marcus smiled despite the pain, knowing that sometimes the greatest victories came not from conquest but from the quiet courage to stand up when others could not stand for themselves.